Hello everyone, thank you for inviting me to your wonderful conference so that I can share a bit about myself. And I'm going to do this by using one of my favorite books in the Bible called Ecclesiastes, and I'm going to read from the chapter 3, verses 1 to 8. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. So when I think about these verses, I'm reminded of the ocean. Ocean has this beautiful rhythm and melody with its waves and tides. I love how God talks to us through nature. With the ocean, the waves rise, they tumble, they roar, they come to the shore only to go back to the ocean again. The author of the Ecclesiastes talks about how life has its own rhythm as well. He calls it time. There is time for everything in our lives. Not a second, not a year, but a time. We can't control it. We can't really tame it, just like we cannot control the ocean and its waves. So today I want to share with you how I accepted the time in my life and how I accepted the waves of my own personal ocean. I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and like many others here in my area, my life was marked with what happened in the early 90s with the war in the Balkan area. I, as many others who experienced this war, was left traumatized and marked by this event. It really was a time in my life that changed me forever. I accepted Jesus in my life when I was 20 years old, and soon after that, God put this deep desire in my heart to search what happened to me. But I was afraid really to go into that area, and I ignored it for a very long time. At first I really didn't believe that this affected me. Then after that I tried to control my emotions, I tried to push everything down, and I tried to control my life as much as possible. But soon I found out that God doesn't really work that way, and He wants us to accept the rhythm of our lives. So there is no quick fix. Everything has to take a certain amount of time in life. I decided to study philosophy, and during that time I met this wonderful lady who was a counselor, and I started taking counseling with her, and she told me that I have potential to actually become a counselor as well. And the more time passed by, I realized that this is where God is leading me as well. But I knew that in order to sit down with other people and to help them, I needed to resolve my issues that happened to me in the past as well. I started therapy, and I asked my therapist one day to if I can grieve and lament like people in the Bible. So she said, yes, let's do that. And I came and I sat in front of the ashes. I covered my head in ashes. I cried, I wept to God, and I mourned over my life. I mourned over my lost childhood. I mourned over my lost home. I mourned over my lost chance for a normal life in this country. I let it all out, and I gave it to God. I put everything in front of his feet. And after that, I stood up, I cleaned up myself, and I anointed my head with oil. And I really felt like with that act, I was entering into another chapter of my life. My desire to become a counselor is still very much present. I know that people in Bosnia and Herzegovina most of the time are walking around like nothing happened, but on the inside they are still carrying a large trauma in their lives. And this can be visible really wherever we go. So one example for that is that number one medicine that is sold in Bosnia and Herzegovina are sedatives and antidepressants. And I think that so many times we as human beings, we want that quick fix, or we want that brokenness to be forgotten, or we want to just fix it and move on with our lives. So we are trying to use any kind of tool that is available to us. And most of the time, these are just pills. But I honestly believe that there is a better way to do this. Of course, people that have to use medicine can still use medicine. I really have nothing against pills, but I think that people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they're really using this to shut down all of their emotions and suppress all their trauma that happened in their lives. So I really want to make difference in this, and my desire is to one day open a healing center with a holistic approach where people can come and experience healing themselves. In the meantime, I started coaching school, and I finished the first cycle, and I would like to work towards my licensure in counseling or life coaching, so that I can be equipped to help people where they are. I know now to trust God and to trust His timing, and I'm waiting to see what happens next. So with this big event of ashes and lamenting, I really feel like I've accepted the waves of my life and timing of my life, to really sit down and to lament and to grieve over what happened. So as we are faced with the pandemic, I think we are all going through a collective trauma as we speak, and we may not be aware of the consequences yet. And if you are feeling this, know that you are not alone. And God reminds us that life has time for everything. We have no idea how long this pandemic is going to last. We have no idea when we're going to hug each other again. But we know that end will come. And I really hope that you are encouraged by what you heard today. And if you are encouraged by what you heard today, I'm challenging you to go and encourage other people, especially in these times of the pandemic. Be that helping hand. You can call somebody, you can give them a kind word, you can maybe have coffee with them over Zoom or maybe live, but keep the social distance. However you may feel fit. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to you and to seeing you, even if it's over online platform. But I know that it's going to be a very enjoyable time. God bless you all, and my prayer is that we all accept our own personal oceans in our lives. Thank you so much.